City County Planning Commission, please come to order. Ms. Martin, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Clark?
Yes, here.
Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Warren? Commissioner Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Runner?
Yes, ma'am. And Commissioners, I would just like for you to notice that you have a amended agenda at your seat, and you will notice that under public hearing, item number 7 has been withdrawn. So also anyone who's listening tonight that would be interested, docket number 2018-59 Z County, GVTP Development and the Stagner family, the land on Elrod Road, that application has been withdrawn and will be re-advertised. Just wanted to make note of that before we begin the meeting. Minutes, December the 6th meeting. Any corrections to those minutes? No corrections? I'd ask for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Runner?
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Runner, I request that you order that the Warren County zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and the comprehensive plan with all of its elements, effective as of this date, be introduced as exhibits for each of tonight's hearings. I further request that you order that the staff reports, all attachments together with the commission's file for each applications, be introduced as exhibits. Finally, I ask that Ben Peterson, Executive Director, Rachel Hurt, Planner, and Monica Ramsey, Planner, be sworn in as witnesses before you, and that their oath and qualifications be reflected in the record for each hearing.
So ordered. Y'all swear to tell the truth before this commission. Thank you all. Commissioners, you had the financial report in the packet. Are there any questions on that? No questions. We'll move on to the preliminary subdivision and site development plans. Any questions on those? No questions. Letters of credit and performance bonds. We have 3 items. Questions? None. Then I would ask for a motion. Thank you. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger? Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Runner?
Yes, ma'am. And we do not have any unfinished business, and so we'll move right into the public hearing. The first item tonight is 2018-12 DP, Western Kentucky Orthopedic Rental Association, LLC, Lovers Lane Land and Farm, LLC, and others have filed an application to amend the general development plan, which is the development plan conditions, on tracts of land containing approximately 65.0549 acres located at 125, 165, 200, 225, and 262 Natchez Trace, 391 Swanee Trail, and 291, 305, 315, 335, and 340 Newtown Drive, 323, 356 Swanee Trail, Port, in addition to other vacant tracts bounded by I-65 and Lovers Lane. Property is zoned plan unit development with the general development plan. We'll have the staff report from Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair Runner and Commissioners. I promise this one shouldn't be as difficult as the title indicates there, but we had a pre-application.
So the introduction was longer than the staff report. Is that what you're telling me?
Potentially, yes, but we'll get right to it here. You did very well in the introduction there. So we have the pre-application date on October 16th, 2018 for the property you see there outlined in yellow, which is in that Lovers Lane overlay district, and this is in the Mount Victor area there. So the application for you tonight is to amend the general development plan to allow any single building to be a maximum of 110,000 square feet with a maximum of 900,000 square feet for retail, commercial, and office professional buildings. And I will explain a bit more about that here in a second. Going through the rest of our maps and exhibits, see the existing zoning is PUD as you described. I'll give a quick property history. So a portion of the development was rezoned from agriculture to RS1B single family in 2001. And then that entire area there was rezoned to PUD, planned unit development, in 2006. And then we've had various binding element amendments, now called development plan conditions, in 2010, 11, 12, and 2017, and of course the request before you tonight. Existing land use is a mixture of uses, as well as the future land use map is in Lovers Lane Overlay District, which has its own future land use map. It just also provides for a mixture of uses, and I think most of us are familiar with this area. And then there is an exhibit provided. So I'm going to go back to the aerial real quick and just leave that area up so we can talk about this more in detail. We went through our typical review of the site, and I will just highlight a few things. So just looking at our compatibility with the comprehensive plan, the proposed changes to the general development plan remain consistent with the mixed-use neighborhood business, residential, and light industrial, office professional, or residential future land use map designations, which all of those apply kind of in this mixed-use area. So, of course, the Planning Commission should determine if the proposed changes before you tonight are appropriate and if the development will remain compatible in this area. Looking also at our compatibility with the surrounding development, when we looked through our site characteristic review, we found that there were adequate facilities and infrastructure available to support the proposed development. The site design for the development has been addressed in the general development plan and the development plan conditions, along with the requirements in the zoning ordinance. And of course, the Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is compatible with the surrounding area. I'm going to go ahead and move on to page 2 and just look at the last 2 bullets under the items to consider. This will give you a little better idea of what is being asked of you tonight. So the only development plan condition proposed to change with this application is to allow any single building on the properties to be a maximum of 110,000 square feet with the maximum overall development of 900,000 square feet for retail, commercial, and office professional buildings. And the proposal is to develop the second floor of the former D1 training facility. The actual footprint is not proposed to change as part of this amendment. So I'll go back to the map here real quick. You'll see the building we're talking about is here, where hopefully you can see the hand moving on there. You see the original WKNOA building here, and then the D1 facility was here. Previously, as my understanding, those buildings were not connected, and then over time, as the D1 facility vacated and WKNOA kind of took over all of that space, that building was then connected, making it all one structure. And then, of course, a good portion of that was formerly the gym. So they're just wanting to finish out the second floor, what is now the second floor of the gym. It was previously just one big open gym. So that's what we're talking about. So the actual footprint is not proposed to change, just to propose to finish out the remainder of that second floor area. I'm not going to spend too much time on the site review characteristics. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have those. The area-specific policy review, as you see, starting on page 4 and going through page 6 there, that we did look at the Lovers Lane specific policies as well during that review. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the bottom of page 6, the general development plan conditions that are proposed to be changed. There were a few changes, as you see there, in item number 1. Those basically are just house cleaning items to clean up the old deed references to the most current deed references. So nothing's really changed there. The item number 5, the general development plan condition number 5, is just the term change reflecting our new change from binding element to the term development plan conditions. And then the only real change is item number 10, where the development plan condition is proposed to move from 100,000 square foot building maximum to 110,000 square foot individual building maximum to reflect the construction that they're proposing to finish out that second floor. Again, the buildings used to not be connected, now they are, so that kind of necessitates the increase there. And then the other change on that same item is to up the overall square footage for that whole area outlined in yellow to 900,000 square feet of retail, commercial, and professional office buildings allowed in that property. That is pretty much all I have. We'll go ahead and read what the applicants submitted. This is on page 10 of the staff report for their explanation. I will go ahead and read that now, but there have been changes in economic and social nature in the neighborhood that have been required changes in the use and application of the building. Immediately adjacent to the WKNOA property is a surgery center being built by Greenview Regional Hospital. This facilitates for the WKNOA property an additional use of vacant, undeveloped square footage within their building so doctors may have access to the next door neighbor. In addition, WKNOA was after Life Skills Incorporated, one of the first buildings in Mount Victor Square. Since that time, as indicated by the attachments to this application, multiple office buildings particularly related to the healthcare industry have made it necessary, attractive, and affordable for building expansion within the footprint and the existing structure of this building. The general development plan envisions certain limitations to square footage. This square footage increase does not in any way change the building structure or design. So that is what the applicants have offered. That is all I have for you. Be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant's counsel is here if you have any questions of them.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Peterson?
Will this need to go before the design review board for their okay and for their opinion on the building?
If anything is to change to the exterior beyond what they have already approved, then yes, but they went, I believe it was last year sometime, to go ahead and do changes for that first floor. This is all interior changes, as I understand it, to just that second floor and finishing out that second floor, which was the old gym. So they may be able to add more to that, but I don't believe there's any exterior changes at this time.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Peterson. And we can hear from the applicant.
Madam Chairman, we went before the Design Review Committee last year, and the only thing that was changed at that time was some signage, the coloring of the signing on the building. This has nothing to do with exterior. Exterior will be exactly the same. This is just so we can build on our second floor, complete our second floor. We actually were at 96,000 square feet. We need to develop 10,000 square feet. And the only way we could do it is what we used to call amending the bounding elements. Now we've amended the general development plan. And of course, it required 75% of the property owners, all of which have agreed to these changes. And quite frankly, since Life Skills and WKNA have been there, all you have to do is drive around and see all the office buildings that have developed there in terms of changes. So nothing exterior, all interior. We're just going to complete our building. Be glad to answer any questions. Have Dr. Patton here with me if there are any questions you need to ask of us.
Thank you, Mr.
If not,
Quadri.
thank you.
Questions, Commissioner? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Do we have any opposition to this request? No questions, no opposition? Then I will ask for a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the proposed general development plan amendment docket number 2018-12 DP based upon the testimony and documents presented in the public hearing, and the proposed general development plan amendment is consistent with the Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Further, I also request that there have been major changes of economic, physical, or social nature within the area of the property in question, and I request that the findings of fact and recommendation include a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Coppinger? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Vogert?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale? Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Runner?
Yes, ma'am, the motion carried. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Item 2, 2018-55Z County. Charles Coleman has filed an application to rezone a portion of a tract of land containing approximately 1.75 acres located at 987 Briggs Hill Road from agriculture to residential estate with a general development plan. I have the staff report from Ms. Ramsey.
Thank you, Chair Runner. We had a pre-application conference on April 19th for the property you see here outlined in yellow. The applicant this evening is requesting to subdivide this property, approximately 1.75 acres, from the existing property as a whole, which is about 8.04 acres, in order to subdivide that single-family home onto its own lot, and then the remaining portion would be added to an adjacent agricultural tract. As Chair Runner has already said, that property is zoned agriculture. Its use is agriculture, and then, as you see around there, a lot of agriculture, single-family uses, vacant tracts as well. The future land use map is agriculture, but because the applicant is proposing to add the remainder of their property to an adjoining tract, that would enlarge the existing agricultural tract and then keep the number of lots the same, so no flume amendment was required in this case. And their proposed zone of residential estate may be appropriate if the Planning Commission determines that it is appropriate. On the first page there, just draw your attention to a couple things. One, that there are generally adequate facilities and infrastructure to support this proposed development other than water flow and pressure, and the property is heavily wooded. Down below there, the points to consider: the proposal is exempt from flume compliance, as I just mentioned. The proposed development complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, with limitations noted regarding water availability, and the proposed general development plan complies with the majority of the review criteria for site design and compatibility, and meets the minimum requirements of the zoning ordinance. So going on to the next page, couple things I want to point out. This proposal does not comply with LU 214, PR 17, or NCR 116 because the applicant has not addressed existing vegetation on the property. I mentioned the property is heavily wooded. Below that, I want to clear up a typo with LU 231. That the report there says the proposal does not comply. It actually does comply. So just wanted to point that out since the applicant has addressed access. They'll be using the existing driveway. And below there, in that next paragraph, the property does not have adequate water to meet the fire control standards of Warren County, but complies with CF 53 since no additional lots are being created. Below that, in the site characteristics review, this property is going to remain as is. There's an existing home on the property. The only thing that they're proposing to change is the lot lines, essentially. And so from the 8.04, they want to take 1.75, leaving 6.29 acres to add to a neighbor's tract. If you go on to page 3, again, just water adequacy. Doesn't have adequate water flow, but the number of lots proposed is less than 4, and total number of lots is actually not changing, so it's exempt from that requirement. The property is comprised of a soil type classified as farmland of statewide importance. The property is comprised of soil types that are somewhat limited and very limited regarding septic tank absorption fields for residential properties, and this property is currently served by septic. I'll just finish up with page 4, the applicant's development plan conditions. I'll go ahead and read those real quickly. 1, the subject property shall be developed into a maximum of 1 single-family residential lot. 2, no manufactured or mobile homes will be permitted on the property. 3, access to the property shall utilize the existing access point. Any future modifications to access shall be coordinated with and approved by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And number 4, the existing home shall utilize the existing septic system. If the existing home is ever replaced, the Barren River District Health Department shall inspect the current system and/or issue a permit for any new system on the property. And so this general development plan meets some of the review criteria for site design, and compatibility of the proposed development should be determined by this body. And so just looking over here, I think that's all to draw your attention to, and so that should be everything I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all have.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. Commissioners, do you have any questions for her? No questions?
I have one real quickly.
Yes, sir.
I know we've seen a couple like this in the past, and I apologize if this is a redundant question. The only reason they're having to do this is because they're going below the 5-acre threshold on the single-family residence, is that correct?
That is correct. They're zoned agriculture right now, and so going below that, since any new agriculture lots have to be at least 5 acres, since they're going lower than that, they can't stay agriculture. So,
Thank you.
happy to explain, that's fine.
Other questions? Nothing else? Thank you, ma'am. Is there anything the applicant would like to add? Nothing? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Do we have any opposition to this request? No questions, no opposition? Then I'll ask for a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and condition upon a general development plan docket 2018-55Z County. Based upon the testimony and the documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan. It's demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and actions presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further request this motion includes a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Thank you. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Vitale?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Graham?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance? Commissioner Coppinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert? Commissioner Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Runner?
Yes, ma'am. The motion carried. Our recommendation will be for approval. Thank you all. Next item, docket number 2018-56ZBG, Gilbert, Barbie, Moore, and McElroy, PSC, doing business as Graves Gilbert Clinic, have filed an application to rezone a tract of land containing approximately .11 acre located at 640 East 3rd Avenue from RM4, which is multifamily residential, to office professional commercial with a general development plan. And we will have the staff report from Ms. Hurd.
Thank you, Chair Runner. We had a pre-application conference for the property outlined in yellow located at the corner of East 3rd Avenue and Park Street. The current zoning of the property, as you mentioned, is RM4, and the property has been zoned some form of multifamily since the original zoning map was adopted. The existing use of the property is public institutional, and I will note that that is a typo in your staff report because it says that the current use is agriculture, so I apologize for that. It should be public institutional. The future land use designation for the property is commercial. This future land use designation consists of a broad array of commercial development, including individual commercial businesses that may exist along a highway corridor or business district, as well as larger planned shopping centers and office parks. And the proposed OPC district is listed as a potentially compatible zone in this future land use designation. With that, I'm going to jump right into our future land use map and category review on page 2. And I'll flip to the exhibit here that was submitted with the application. So, the staff evaluated 12 items from the comprehensive plan for compliance, and we found that the application complies with the majority of these items, but I will touch on a few that were not complied with or are a judgment call on your part. So, LU 113, that looks at compatibility, and the Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is compatible with the area and therefore in compliance with LU 113. And I will mention that there's an existing church on the property that they're proposing to repurpose for storage space for the nearby medical use. Moving on to LU2, the proposal may comply with LU2, and the Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is a high-quality development that includes design standards tailored to protect the character of the community. Regarding NCR 1.4, 2.2, 2.5, and 253, the proposal does not comply with these items as the applicants have not committed to preserving the existing church on the property that was built in 1950. The Planning Commission should also determine compliance with ED1 and if the proposal will strengthen core industries, retain existing businesses, and help to diversify the local economy. Under the site characteristics review, I'll just touch on the last item there, cultural or historic features. As I mentioned, there is an existing church that they're planning to, at least in the immediate future, to repurpose for storage. This church was constructed in 1950 and is not listed on the National Register of Historic Places, nor is it locally designated as historic. The applicants did not commit to preserve the structure, but they have committed in their development plan conditions, which we'll get to in just a minute, that any items that are salvageable or of value would be donated to the Habitat for Humanity Restore or similar organization. Under the site design and compatibility review, I'll just point out, as you see on the land use map, that the surrounding area is mainly comprised of public institutional uses. There are also some single-family uses as you kind of get further out toward the northwest portion of the screen there. And there are also a mixture of other uses, commercial, public, and vacant properties as well. And we've also noted that Graves Gilbert Clinic and the medical center facilities are also located in the surrounding area. Under surrounding architectural features, we've noted that the surrounding area is mainly comprised of multi-story medical buildings and parking areas, and that there are also 1- and 2-story residential structures located nearby. On the next page, we have outlined the proposed development plan conditions that were submitted with the application to help address compatibility with the surrounding area. Number 1 states that any future signage on the property would be in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Number 2 that I touched on previously is that if the existing structure is removed, any items of salvage or value will be donated to the Habitat for Humanity Restore or similar organization. Number 3, in the event the existing church is ever raised, any new structure would be consistent in appearance and with similar commercial building materials to other existing facilities in the general area. And number 4, the existing access to the property will be utilized while the existing structure is in place. Any future redevelopment of the site or modifications to the existing access would be coordinated with and approved by the Bowling Green Public Works Department. And with that, I'll just wrap up the staff report with the points to consider on page 1. Staff has noted that the proposal is consistent with the future land use map in the commercial category. The proposed development complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, and the proposed general development plan complies with the majority of the review criteria for site design and compatibility. Again, we've noted that the existing church on the property was constructed in 1950. The applicants have made no commitment to preserve the structure, but did agree to donate salvageable materials. And finally, we've noted that existing freestanding signage in the immediate vicinity is fairly modest in height and square footage. The applicants agreed only to satisfy the requirements of the zoning ordinance and did not limit signage on the property. Staff requested that the applicants address signage as a part of their application because freestanding signage in the proposed OPC zone is permitted up to 20 feet in height with a maximum sign face area of 100 square feet, and the Planning Commission should determine if these maximums are compatible with the surrounding area. And with that, I am finished with the staff report, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know the applicants are here as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt. Have any questions? Questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And anything the applicant would like to add?
I guess just to reinforce the idea that we're,
I'll just let you, if you would please come to the mic, introduce yourself, and we will.
I will, thank you. I'm Brian Packard. I'm the facilities manager for Graves Gilbert Clinic, and I just wanted to reinforce that we have really no intention of changing the structure, doing anything different, signage, nothing. Just we need a little more closet space, and we have the property, and would like to be in line with what we currently have zoned next door in our main building. So,
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions?
You know if you are going to paint it and clean it up, or you're just going to leave
well,
it
I
as
think we'll
is?
have to soon. Yeah, it's getting in rough shape.
Okay.
Previous owners didn't have deep enough pockets to sort of do what they probably needed to, but yeah, that's part of the plan is to dress it up a little bit as far as paint and clean up. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from anyone in the audience? No questions, no opposition? Any opposition? Nothing? Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Would you be open to limiting the sign of, the signage restrictions there, or putting restrictions on the sign of
We have no
size of
intention,
signage?
sorry to interrupt you, we have no intentions of adding any signage at all. If we were to use it, it's literally just for storage of items like banners and things that we have to tuck away somewhere, and we're just out of space in that main building next door. There's no intention of changing the use as far as people actually being in there in any permanent sense, that sort of thing. So there would be no need for any signage. If anything, we might try to make it look less like a church, although that's difficult because the architectural structure itself looks like a church, so.
Anything else? I'll ask again, do we have any opposition? No opposition? Thank you, sir. I'll ask for a motion, please.
Make the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and condition upon a general development plan, docket 2018-56ZBG. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by the compliance with objections and actions items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include a summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Thank you, sir. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Gay,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger, Chair Runner.
Yes, ma'am. Motion carried. Our recommendation will be for approval. Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda, as you can see, has been postponed and will be re-advertised. That brings us to items 5 and 6. Docket number 2018-16 Flume. Jimmy G. Renault has filed an application for a future land use map amendment containing approximately 1.01 acres located on a portion of a tract of land at 0 Matlock Road bounded by Rich Pond Road and I-65 from agriculture to rural density residential. Then on docket number 2018-58Z County, the applicants have also filed a rezone application on that same land to residential estate. So we'll have the staff report from Ms. Hurd.
Thank you, Chair Runner. We had a pre-application conference on October 5th for the portion of the property you see outlined in yellow located on Matlock Road. And as you mentioned, this is a dual application this evening. The first request is for a future land use map amendment from agriculture to rural density residential. And if that is successful, the applicants are proposing to rezone the portion of the property, approximately 1 acre in yellow, for an additional single-family residential lot. The current zoning of the property is agriculture, and the current use of the property is also agriculture. You can see the majority of the area is comprised of agricultural uses with some single-family lots also scattered about the area there. And as we've touched on, the future land use map is currently agriculture. This land use designation applies to those rural areas relatively remote from the expanding rural suburban fringe where agricultural uses are predominant with small and large-scale farm operations. This classification can also include undeveloped areas used for open space and large tract single-family residential property. The rural density residential designation, which is what the applicant is proposing to amend the future land use map to, applies to those rural areas relatively close to the suburban fringe. It also applies to areas where property fragmentation has occurred within unincorporated areas or near farming activities through provisions for exception lots in the agricultural zoning district or through rezoning and incremental subdivision of land as residential estate lots with gross densities ranging from 0 to 1 dwelling unit per acre. We've noted on page 1 under compatibility with the comprehensive plan that if the future land use map amendment to rural density residential is approved, that the proposed RE zone would be potentially compatible in such designation. And it may be appropriate if you determine that the proposal is compatible with the area. On page 2, I'll jump to our future land use map and category review. The staff evaluated several items from the comprehensive plan and found that the applicant did comply with the majority of those items. There were a few that were left to be a judgment call on your part. We've noted that the first item there, the proposal may comply with the map and the category and with LU 111, 112, and 114 if deemed compatible with the surrounding area. The future land use map amendment is approved and if you determine that the proposal is compatible with the area. The proposal may comply with LU2 if the Planning Commission determines that the proposal is a high-quality development that will protect the character of the area. The proposal may comply with NCR 241. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposal is located in an area where infrastructure already exists and whether or not the proposed lot will result in an increased amount of development pressure on the countryside. And finally, the application may comply with HN 2.1 and HN 4. The Planning Commission should determine if the proposed development is located in a suitable location and if it will enhance the array of housing options available in the area. Under the site characteristics review, I'll touch on the transportation infrastructure. We've noted that the property has frontage on Matlock Road, which is a county-maintained rural local roadway with 50 feet of right-of-way and 18 feet of pavement width. Under water adequacy, we've also noted that the property is served by the Warren County Water District and has adequate water flow to meet the minimum fire protection requirements for Warren County. Under the site design and compatibility review section, under surrounding architectural features, the staff has noted that the majority of the homes in the area are 1 story in height. There are also agricultural buildings in the area that are taller than 1 story. And for building materials, we've noted that homes in the area are comprised of a mixture of brick and vinyl siding. On page 4, we've listed the proposed development plan conditions that were submitted by the applicant. Number 1 states that the maximum number of lots will be 1. Number 2, the minimum lot size will be 1 acre. Number 3, minimum square footage would be 1,500 square feet. Manufactured homes will not be allowed. Number 4, any new access to the property will be coordinated with the Warren County Public Works Department. Number 5, the majority of the existing trees located on the property will be maintained to the greatest extent feasible during future development. Number 6, installation of any new septic system on the property will be coordinated with and approved by the Barren River Area District Health Department. And number 7, any new home on the property will be at least 80% brick, stone, or modern masonry materials. And with that, I'll wrap up with the points to consider on page 1. If the future land use map amendment is approved, the proposal would be consistent with the future land use map and rural density residential category. The proposed development generally complies with the majority of the site characteristics review criteria, and the proposed general development plan complies with the majority of the review criteria for site design and compatibility and meets the minimum requirements in the zoning ordinance. And with that, that's all I have for the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions from Ms. Hurt? Questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Applicant, is the applicant present? Do you have anything that you'd like to add? Nothing to add. Do we have any questions from anyone in the audience for either application? Do we have any opposition for either application? The first thing we need to do is act on the request for the change, the Flume Amendment. I would ask for that motion, please.
I make the motion to approve the proposed future land use map amendment, docket number 2016 Flume. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed Flume Amendment has met the directive to amend the Flume as outlined in LU 1.1.4 in the Comprehensive Plan. Further, I request that this motion include a summary of the evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Gay,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston, Chair Runner.
Yes, ma'am. The motion carried, and now we need to act on the zone change request. So I would ask for a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and conditioned upon the general development plan, docket number 2018-58Z County. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the Focus 2030 Comprehensive Plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include the summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Thank you, sir. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Houston,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison, Commissioner Gay,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Coppinger, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Rudder.
Yes, ma'am. The motion carried. Our recommendation will be for approval. Thank you all. And item 7, as announced earlier, docket number 2018-59 Z County has been withdrawn and will be re-advertised. Brings us to new business. The only thing I have is the schedule in the packet for the new meeting dates. Anything to add to that? Just ask for approval. We'll need a motion for approval. Thank you. And a second. Thank you.
Commissioner Rich, Commissioner Vitale,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Balance, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Coppinger, Commissioner Graham,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Volkert, Commissioner Gay,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Madison,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Houston,
Yes, ma'am.
He must have a bet on the time the meeting's ending. Is that? Thank you. And yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The motion carried. Anything else, sir? Mr. Peterson? Nothing else? All I'll say is Merry Christmas. Anything from commissioners? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.